16 by 9, the bigger picture.
It's a specialized police unit, the first of its kind in Canada.
People be arrested, they'd be put before the courts, they'd be released in no time at all, and they'd be just going right back to their life of crime.
I'm Mike Armstrong in Dyersville, Iowa. This farmhouse is one of the most famous movie sites in North America, and it's on the market. Coming up, selling the Field of Dreams.
There's like no greater place on the planet than this.
Every time I watch that movie, I cry every time. Excuse me.
That's all coming up on 16 by 9. Here's Mary Garofalo.
Good evening and welcome to 16 by 9, the bigger picture. It's been criticized as a revolving door that allows dangerous criminals back on the street, only to offend again. And although it's every Canadian's right, our bail system is under fire. So what happens when a court sets them free to await trial? Who watches them? Well, it's a new unit called BCU, the Bail Compliance Unit. And our Allison Vuchnich goes behind the scenes with the special police team.
It's Friday night, and these officers are gearing up for a night of action.
Can everybody take a look at the warrant, just sign the
Figuring out a play-by-play.
So the target, T1, is Richard McKinley.
To move in on a suspected drug dealer. Leading the raid are the men of the Bail Compliance Unit, known as the BCU.
Come on. 10-4, we're all coming. So we want to do this as quickly as possible, as safely as possible.
They have a search warrant. No one's home, so they're busting in.
Come on.
You got him?
And a few minutes later, just around the corner, officers find Richard McKinley and arrest him. Inside his house, the BCU say they uncover a large stash of drugs, cash, and ammunition.
That's quite a bit of marijuana. Looks powdered cocaine, but who knows? We're going to seize it and then we'll send it away for testing. Methadone, cash, more bags of marijuana.
They're rifle rounds, armor piercing, I'm sure. Very dangerous.
Back at the station, the unit is laying out all the gathered evidence: cocaine, methadone, marijuana, weapons, and cash. All leading to 10 charges, from possession of illegal weapons to drug trafficking. Less than 24 hours later at court, Richard McKinley, who has no prior record but facing numerous charges, is back on the street, out on bail. And watching it all unfold is Kevin Williams, one of the BCU officers involved in last night's bust.
He did have a good showing of family members there that are willing to take responsibility for him and ensure that he does comply with the conditions and stay out of trouble.
This guarantee is called surety, a promise to the courts that McKinley will abide by strict bail conditions. And while he is back in the community, it's the Bail Compliance Unit that will keep tabs on him and others like him. It is a crime that shocked the nation. The 2005 Boxing Day murder of 15-year-old Jane Creba, an innocent shopper caught in a deadly shootout on Canada's busiest street. Convicted, a drug dealer with a long record who was free on bail and with a lifetime weapons ban. And there are others. Sarah Rama Varugese and her daughter Susan John were found dead in their home 2 years ago. The man charged was out on bail, and he's still awaiting trial. Seeper Danny Rapti was gunned down at his family's car dealership after an argument with 2 men over the repossession of a vehicle. One of the men convicted in the case was also out on bail. These are the men of 55 Division's BCU, Rossi Pala and his partner Fraser Douglas, Kevin Williams and his partner Todd Gowan. What started as a pilot project 2 years ago is now in every police division in the city. And Toronto is the only city in the country that has a dedicated unit just for bail compliance.
We're not there just to arrest. We're there to actually try and move the process forward and keep them on the right track.
We're with the Bail Compliance Unit. Obviously, this is the first time that somebody's come to check on him, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to be coming around periodically because he's on a house arrest.
Okay, no problem.
And as long as he's abiding by his conditions, he's going to have no problems from us.
So we all know who the people are who are creating most of the crime, who are keeping tabs on them. They're not just able to run amok without being watched.
Wayne Peden, the former unit commander at 55 Division, helped kickstart the BCU project to stop what he calls a revolving door system.
It became very frustrating for some of our detectives who were following up on these crimes again and again and again. People would be arrested, they'd be put before the courts, they'd be released in no time at all, and they'd be just going right back to their life of crime.
Frustrating for police, but it's part of the legal system. Any Canadian is entitled to be released on bail, many with strict conditions. They're supposed to carry on with their lives, not take part in criminal activities. There are close to 35,000 people out on bail in Toronto, with hundreds out on bail in 55 Division alone, all waiting for their day in court to answer their charges.
We're gonna check up on a guy who's on house arrest. He's got a whole whack of drug charges.
The BCU is out day and night, knocking on doors, making sure people are home when they're supposed to be. These are the charges facing one teenager on their list.
Robbery while armed with a firearm, pointing a firearm, unauthorized possession of a firearm, possession of a firearm obtained by commission of an offense, careless use of a firearm. I mean, the list goes on.
Right now, I'm updating our top 10 wanted board.
And the most important list is the BCU's top 10, and those they consider the most dangerous in the Division area.
We're talking about extremely violent offenders, people who are out on attempt murder, firearms offenses, whether it's trafficking of narcotics. We're talking about the worst of the worst.
And while officers Pala and Douglas are checking to make sure that a young offender is at home where he's supposed to be, another teen bumps into Officer Douglas.
Listen, come here. Hey.
Yo, I gotta go.
Let's have a talk, okay?
It is tough. I got nothing.
All right.
I'm not scared.
You have any weapons on you right now? Listen, for the safety of the public and the safety of my partner, that's why I put you in handcuffs.
You walk by a police officer, you don't bump into him, for starters. You can't do that, okay?
Once a pig, always a pig, right?
Yeah? What's that mean?
It's officer. You don't call us a pig.
Fuck you too.
And it turns out this 16-year-old was out on charges of possession of marijuana. A week later, he was arrested for robbery, granted bail, rearrested for violating conditions, and at last check is out on bail again.
Have a nice day.
This is a known gang area, well known to 55 Division.
This young lady just told me that the gentleman just spat on our car. I call him a gentleman, but yeah, not much of a gentleman. So it's very sad when little girls have to tell you that somebody walks by a police car and spits on it.
A day in the life. No two compliance checks are the same.
What's up, Dayton? How's it going?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
Coming back from some sports.
Yeah, what were you doing?
I'm playing basketball out in Montreal.
With Dayton Sofa, they talk about sports and work.
Oh, okay.
What does Sofa think of the BCU?
I think they're just doing their job and doing what they're asked to do just to make sure that we're applying with our bail compliances. So it's not a problem with me.
These are the first charges he's ever faced.
Just changing people I hang around with, really, because for me, I think it was just a mistake of who I was hanging around with in the wrong place at the wrong time type of thing.
We got a curfew that we're going to check on at 8 o'clock.
We've arrested this guy a couple of times now. Toronto Police. I haven't seen him since he's gotten bail.
So what time is he supposed to be in?
8 o'clock.
And what time is it right now?
5 to 9. But he's allowed to be out with his surety.
That's the kicker with all of these, is there's the exceptions. You're a house arrest, but you can be out with your surety.
In some cases, even if there is an imposed curfew, as long as the accused is out with their surety, they're not breaking any laws. Powell and Douglas say the man they just checked on is a convicted drug dealer. In the last 7 months, he's been arrested 3 times for breaching his conditions, and 3 times he's made bail.
When there's checks and balances involved, then people are always going to be aware of what's going on. By having us involved with the whole process and them knowing that we're going to be there checking up on them randomly, it just gives them a heightened sense of awareness that, you know what, I better abide by these conditions or else, the bail guys are going to come and catch me.
Still to come on 16 by 9.
I don't think you stop those sorts of problems by knocking on people's doors at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's all coming up. Welcome back to 16 by 9, the bigger picture.
Is Toronto's bail compliance unit a good idea for the rest of Canada? Some would argue no. But for one father in British Columbia, the unit is long overdue. Here's our Allison Vuchnich with Before the Courts.
You can see it on his face. All of it. The pain, anguish, anger.
I lost my firstborn. I lost my best friend. I lost half my grandchildren. I lost a guy to coach Little League Baseball with.
Jesse Penner was a star athlete and student leader. The last time Gord saw his 20-year-old son alive, he was leaving the house to drive some friends to a party in Port Coquitlam, British Columbia.
And the next time I would hear anything about him was when we were phoned and told that he was stabbed.
It was an act of kindness that led to Jesse's death. When he arrived at the party, another friend was in a fight with a stranger. Jesse tried to help. Police say he was pepper sprayed and then stabbed to death. The 16-year-old who killed Jesse, Ryan Crossley, was out on bail.
He was violating all the conditions of his bail. He had a weapons ban and an 11 o'clock curfew, and he was out on bail with 10 convictions and 4 for assault. His last charge was assault with a weapon, and he was waiting to be sentenced, and they released him on bail.
This heartbroken father wishes there was a special bail compliance unit in Vancouver.
If there was somebody that was following these people on bail, then there's a very good chance that this could have been prevented and saved my family and our friends and the community a whole lot of grief.
Victims of crime, they deserve a voice. They really do. And we see day in and day out victims and what they face. And I think policing has a lot of aspects to it. And one thing for sure is victims can't be forgotten in this.
We're not here to try to raid your house or cause you any problems. We just want to have a discussion.
In Toronto, officers with the Bail Compliance Unit, the BCU, are making sure people are home at curfew and abiding by their court-imposed conditions. No one can deny there are violent crimes committed by people on bail. Still, this Toronto lawyer defends the system.
You will always be able to pick up an example and say, look, this terrible thing happened and this person was on bail. The fact of the matter is, though, that I don't think you stop those sorts of problems by knocking on people's doors at 3 o'clock in the morning.
David Bayless has been defending clients for 25 years. He says it's harder to get bail these days, and courts are far too quick to impose onerous, even unnecessary bail conditions.
Being released pending your trial shouldn't be a sort of a ticket for the police to invade all of your privacies, to search you at will or to enter your house at will. And if we're not careful, that's the way these provisions could be going.
We're basically allowed to knock on the doors, and I mean, if they invite us in, they invite us in, but it's not like we can go barging in there. All in all, they need to see it as a chance. They've been given a chance to remain in the community.
Everyone agrees a good surety is key. That's the family members or friends who put up money and agree in court to supervise the accused.
I just got a phone call from a woman that wants to pull her son's bail. He's out on bail for a gas station robbery, and she just got in an argument with him. He wants to leave. She says, you can't, you're under house arrest, and he just left with his friends anyway.
We're going to see if we can find him tonight. He is known to hang out in areas in 55 Division, and we know some people that he might be hanging out with.
So they hit the streets looking for the alleged young offender. Officer Rossi Pala calls the teen's mother.
I mean, if he's not obeying the routine discipline of your household, you're doing the right thing.
The officers didn't find him, but the teen and his family worked something out. And the officers know they can't be everywhere, so they count on the families, and they want the families to count on them.
If the surety's on board with what we're trying to achieve, then that partnership really works.
Their hope, they say, is to make the streets safer. Since 2009, there have been close to 19,000 compliance checks and more than 1,900 arrests for breaching conditions of bail. Compare that to the previous year, before the BCU existed. There was only 1,600 checks and just under 700 arrests. This search led to the arrest of Richard McKinley, who within 24 hours was released on bail. He's waiting for his day in court, And his is the new name on the BCU's top 10 list. And today is the day they check on him for the first time.
Richard, how's it going? We're with the Bail Compliance Unit, 55 Division. So it's our job to check up on people who are out on bail, house arrest, curfew, whatnot. Okay, so you've met the criteria for our list. We're going to be monitoring you from now and then.
Sure.
As long as you abide by a curfew, you'll have no problems from us, okay?
If you get a job, you know what, we're 100% behind that. And we'll work with you on that, and we can set something up so that we can still be aware of where you are, that type of thing, without putting any undue restrictions that are going to cause friction for employment, okay?
Okay. All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Richard. Take it easy.
Yeah, take care of you too. Thanks.
Richard was home without his sureties, and he seems to have a good grasp on what his conditions are. So that's encouraging, and hopefully he can continue on a successful path until this case is dealt with.